Hello, and welcome to this GIS report, reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development. I am Public Health Communication Specialist Natasha Latham Humphrey. Today on the program, we have with us our Chief of Drugs and Pharmaceutical Services, Mrs. Gracia Wheatley Smith. Welcome to the program, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mrs. Humphrey. Nice to be with you again.
Always a pleasure. I hope they don't get sick of us, but of course, when you come on, it's nothing but knowledge and information being shared.
That's what I'm trying to accomplish. Share that knowledge.
Definitely. And today we're here to talk about your upcoming course, your upcoming virtual CME course, Prescribing for the Elderly. Talk to us a little bit about that.
In developing my work plan, I was looking at workshops that should be done so that we can keep the BVI public informed, patients as well as caregivers, as well as, anyone who wants to learn more about medicine and what is happening in the world. And I was speaking with my CMO, Dr. Georges, and I said, Dr. Georges, I think I want to start off the year with prescribing for the elderly because, elderly have so many chronic conditions going on. And at that time, you find that our organs are not functioning as they should. So definitely when you look at side effects of medicines, adverse events, and medicines that should not be prescribed in certain conditions, he said, Gracie, that's a very good one. I think we should go with that. So I said, listen, I contacted Mr. Burnett and I said, Mr. Burnett, can we do a workshop on prescribing for the elderly? Because we know children who are just coming in and their organs are developing as babies and toddlers, etc. And then we have the elderly and the other scheme of things when we seem to be slowing down. So our organs start to function not as they should at 100%. So therefore, and medicines, therefore, they are built how they are made, the strength. So we may need to do some dosage reduction so that there is as minimal harm that can occur in those sectors of the population. He said, yes, that's a very good workshop. And yes, I'm on board. So that workshop is coming up on the 29th of February, which is a Thursday evening, as always, from 7 to 9. It's virtual, as said, and it will carry some continuing education credits.
Now, you talked about some of the importance of prescribing correctly for the elderly. Who are you targeting, and what do you hope to cover as part of the course?
I am targeting physicians, because they definitely have to write the medication. They have to do the prescribing. So I would like to do a refreshers course. I am sure our physicians are up to date, but ever so often in medicine, nothing is static. Everything is changing. So I just wanted to bring any changing information to them, to the pharmacist, so that when they are dispensing, if they see something, they can flag it and call the doctor and say, well, doc, this medication should not really be prescribed in the elderly, or, can we change it to something else? I'm looking at the dose needs to be reduced and so forth, and they can have that conversation going on. And also in the home, if we have caregivers or children who are responsible for their parents, then when they're administering the medication and they see that, a red flag can also go on if they attend the workshop and say, I don't think this is the right thing for my mom to be getting with such a heart condition. So let me call the doctor and see if this was a mistake on the way or something. So doctors, pharmacists, nurses, caregivers, even patients themselves who are at that age or younger can attend.
And what are some of the topics you're going to be covering?
Well, the objectives that we have really is to look at what we call the BEARS criteria in prescribing. Now, what the BEARS criteria is basically a set of objectives, information, categories of medications that should not be given to the elderly, because then they may have this side effect which may worsen the condition, or it may bring on a worse side effect for the patient and have them suffer. So we'll be looking at the BEAR criteria. There's 5 categories. It's a listing that is reviewed every 3 years. So it keeps current with medicine development, new medicines that are coming online, etc. And it is the categories would be like medicines that should not be prescribed to patients who are over 65 because of the harm that could be done. Medicines that should not be prescribed to patients who have certain health conditions, medicines that should not be prescribed because of the drug-drug interaction. So the one before was a drug-disease interaction. I shouldn't take this drug because I have this disease. I shouldn't take this drug because this other drug interacts with it and I will get worse side effect. Medicines that can be limited because of the what should I say? Because of the effort that they would exert on an organ, such as dialysis patients. There are certain medicines that you would not give a dialysis patient, or that you may have to titrate the dose down. And then we have those medicines where the risk outweigh any benefit that the patient could receive. So definitely those would be the 5 categories. So we'll be looking at the best criteria, those medicines. We are also hoping to look at prescriptions that have been prescribed to our elderly, 65 or over, in the BVI to see how closely we have come to international standards in observing the best criteria.
Wonderful. That sounds very interesting. And I know that, doctors and pharmacists and the persons that you are targeting for this workshop would definitely appreciate that. One thing I do note with all of your CMAs, you always include caregivers.
Yes.
You include caregivers. What's the significance of that?
Well, we do have in the BVI, we have a high population of individuals or elderly. Lots of them are no longer mobile or can no longer stay by themselves. Even if they are young, even if they are up and mobile, they still can no longer stay with themselves, maybe because they have a psychiatric condition and so forth, but the children have to go to work or they have to go to school. So we do have individuals who are home with caregivers, and the caregivers also need to be knowledgeable as to what they're doing for their clients. Because, I'm not there, you're not there, and they have to administer the medication even in our absence. So they need to know about side effects, what can be done, or if this is the proper medication to give their client. Mm-hmm. So they need the education as well.
Personally, I love the fact that you include, caregivers and, family members, persons taking care of the elderly, because too much time I feel like we leave the elderly on their own. Mm-hmm. They age, they go to the doctor, and the doctor, gives them this prescription. Sometimes, they're not, they don't have the capacity to say, okay, doc, what is this? And, mm-hmm. I'm taking this. And sometimes we just need that extra care to be able to give to our elderly to ensure that, the prescriptions are meeting your best criteria. The prescriptions, wouldn't cause them more harm than good. Mm-hmm. That the prescription would be helpful and not harmful. So yeah. I like the fact that you are prescribing for the elderly, because our population, is getting a bit older. Yes. And it is very vital. So talk to us a little bit about the facilitator and how you see the course actually being done.
Okay, Mr. Francis Burnett. He has been my resource person for a lot of our workshops. And that has come because of the years that I've worked with him in representing the BVI on the OECS PPS two committees, the TAC committee where we actually select medicines for the 9 countries, and then also the formulary committee, which we pick medicines for the regional formulary. And I have been working with Mr. Burnett since 1989, so I have grown to know him and his expertise as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned. I have seen him and I have read his research that he has done. He has written many papers that have been published. Also, in working with him in workshops for preparation for the TAC meeting, I have learned a lot. He is the guide for many of the subject that we have to cover when we do go to that meeting, which is a whole week. So imagine being in a room with someone for 8 hours or 9 or 10 hours and having these discussions, this medication, what is it? And when we are looking at medication to add on our formulary, we also have to come and discuss side effects, adverse events, discuss risk-benefit ratio as well, and all of that. Now, what would happen is that BVI would submit what medication they want on the regional formulary, and the other 8 countries would do that. So I may not be privy to what the other 8 countries have submitted. I would only know what we submitted. But when we go, so we don't have to waste time, Mr. Burnett has already done well, he used to, all the research that was needed, and then would be able to present the paper to us and saying, and then we can have an intelligent conversation as to whether or not it can be added to the formulary, or we would just leave it until further research is presented to us. So he has done like I said, he has written many papers that have been published. He has also worked in many areas. He has worked for World Health Organization. He has worked for UNICEF. He has worked in recently, I think it was Iran, setting up an establishment similar to the OECS PPS. So he has gone there to present papers as well, also in Africa. So he has always been pharmaceutically oriented and always been in touch with research to keep most current.
Wonderful. Well, we do look forward to that. Talk to us a bit about how persons can, sign up for the workshop.
Okay, as always, you can sign up by calling me at 468-9850, or you can send me an email at grwheatley-smith@gov.vg. Again, 468-9850, or email me at grwheatley-smith.vg.
Is there any cost for this workshop?
Or yes, there is a $10 cost incurred just to, I guess, with the help with our resource. We are hoping to produce a manual so that people can have for future reflection, and also to assist in keeping Mr. Burnett happy.
Well, Mrs. Whitley Smith, as usual, thank you for coming on here and sharing with us about this upcoming CME on prescribing for the elderly. I want you to close us off by, reiterating the importance of reporting. I know last year, reporting adverse drug events. I know last year you launched a campaign, and, one of the target messages was report. Now we're having a whole workshop aimed at, identifying some issues that may result as a result of, maybe not the best prescriptions given to our elderly. So, in times like this, if persons, are taking care of someone elder and, are seeing some of the issues that, we have talked about, not only today, but over the years that we have talked about with, side effects and adverse drug reactions and what to look out for. I reiterate for us that importance of reporting and how persons can report.
Well, Mrs. Humphrey, as a pharmacist, I have always held a position that medicines help if used properly. If not used properly, medicines can hurt. And that has always been my position, and that will continue to be my position. I know some of us look at it as a little thing, and it may not be able to do me much harm. But I've also seen the worst side of things, where I've been privy to more serious reporting than what has occurred in the BVI. Because we have when some individuals have taken medicines that do not agree with them, they have actually died, or they have had organ damage, like kidney damage, So reporting is very important, and especially with our elderly, we need to keep an eye out for that, because there are some medications that would increase the probability of falling, in the elderly. Medications that may cause sedation. So you may be giving them that medication to keep them calm and whatever, but then you find that they are more prone to more falls during the day and getting up and so forth. Then we have medication that we may be giving for hypertension, and the next thing you know, when they come to get up, you find that they are staggering, suffering from what we call postural hypotension. There are medicines that affect that as well. Then we have anti-seizure medication that also can have an added adverse effect in patients. So if we are giving our clients that and we are observing it, we should not just brush it off, but we should try and report it to the child, get hold of the adult children, and note it so that the adult child will have it when the mother or father is going to their next checkup with a doctor to say, Doc, well, this is what has been happening to daddy or mommy. Find out when she's getting up or he's getting up. I have to support them more because they are falling because their pressure has gone down. Or I find that when we give them a little something to help them sleep, I can't get them wake up in the morning, you know. And these are things that we need to look out for because that small little tablet can really do some harm. Too much paracetamol can actually injure your kidney, you know. So we need to look out at things like that. And that information lies within the training of the doctor and the pharmacist. So therefore, having a dialogue in counseling with them, asking them what are the effects. Now, they may not want to take the effects because all medicine come with effects, but you need to know especially the most common side effects to look out for. Doesn't mean that you will experience that side effect, but at least you would have that knowledge and then you report it, because it is only by reporting and adding it together with the report from the global database can we say, well, this medicine should be withdrawn, because it is not, the risk benefit ratio is definitely not there. So I don't get any benefit, I get more risk. So therefore, this should be withdrawn from market. Or probably we need to put a black box warning on this so that only certain physicians who will now be schooled more with that medication can prescribe it. So instead of a general physician, we may have a medical internist or gastroenterologist, because they would have had that training for that specific medication. So reporting is very important. It is the only way that us as regulators, that we as regulators and pharmacists can know how to have a positive impact in reference to the medicine that you take.
Mm-hmm. Always a wealth of information. I just love when you come on the program to share with us many gems to take away with the care for our elderly and this upcoming workshop. This is Wheatley Smith. Final thoughts.
My final thoughts: our elderlies are a gem. So we must take care of them, because when we couldn't take care of ourselves, they were the ones who were taking care of us. So now that they may not be able to take care of themselves, we must do what we have to do to take care of them. So medications can help, medications can hurt. And as we get older, our body functions start to slow down. And if we aren't observant as to the effects that medicine is having, because maybe mom was taking this while she was younger, but now that she's getting older, it is not agreeing with her. Because instead of the liver or the kidney being able to get rid of it as it should, it is not functioning, so it is piling up in the body and causing more effects. So when you see her can't wake up, maybe it's because that the diazepam or the Valium that you've given her is a bit more piling up, in her system all the time and exerting its effect over a longer period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So take care of our gyms, because they were there to take care of us.
Definitely prescribe with care. Our elderly are there. Remember, for those persons, we're targeting pharmacies, pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, nurses, doctors,
caregivers,
and even caretakers to take part in this virtual CME course, which is coming up. Did you say on February 29th?
February 29th, yes, 7 to 9 p.m.
7 to 9 p.m. And remember, you could register with our Chief of Drugs here by contacting her at 468-9850.
Yes, ma'am.
Or what's your email again?
grwheatley-smith@gov.vg.
All right. So, reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development, I am Public Health Communications Specialist Natasha Humphrey. Thanks for